Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. At this time, I'd like to ask everybody in attendance to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence in honor of our troops. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The following items have been placed on the consent agenda, are routine in nature, and will be passed with one vote of the council. Should any member of the council or the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda for individual consideration, please say so now and it will be removed and considered following the approval of remaining consent items. Consent items include minutes from the council meeting of October 14th, 2025, payroll for the pay period ending October 18th in the amount of $261,882.96, staff reports, and Bach report. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. Next, we have approval of bills for October 27th in the amount of $274,634.81. Do I have a motion to approve payment of the bills?
So moved. Second.
And any discussion?
I did have one. So we got pollution control system with pump repair. What was that for 9?
That was a submersible pump repair that they did.
For where? Is that wastewater treatment? Was that sewage? Was that
What's the GL next to it?
52-93?
That's wastewater.
Wastewater. Okay, so what was that pump used for? Chris, you know?
I have to look into it. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
It's the wastewater treatment plant.
It just seemed like, yeah, I mean, the $10,000 bill for that. Didn't know what, because I think we just had a pump replaced in one of the wells, and I was wondering if it had something to do with that or any of the circumstances behind that bill.
I can also ask because the clock shows those.
I had that one, that's right.
Okay.
So I can contact them and get more information on it.
Yeah, okay, it's just a lot of money for a pump repair.
Yep.
Cool, thank you.
And just the, Chris, the Harn RO systems, just what was that, 34,000? Is that towards some of the water work that we're doing for renovation, or is that maintenance? Right. Okay, I guess what I was trying to ask is that part of the recapitalization or like was that an upgrade or was that just normal maintenance? Okay.
Yep, it's not very good to do the
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anything else? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. And we will move on to public comments. If there's anyone who wishes to address the council, please step up front. We don't have a microphone for you to use tonight, but please speak loudly so that everyone here is able to hear what you have to say. And you will be limited to 3 minutes. Okay, we'll move along. And we have Andrew Carlson, a new police officer that is going to be sworn in. Come on up, Andrew.
I'd like to congratulate Andrew Carlson, Kewanee High School. You get 2 rows of the Marine Roosevelt, here in Kewanee. He started his career with the New Hampshire Sheriff's Office, jail, also with the police department. He joined us earlier, a month ago. Yep. And he's currently our RPO, so we're going to transition to Kevin full time.
Read your name and repeat after me. I state your name.
having been hired to the position of police officer in and for the city of Kewanee and the county of Henry, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the position of police officer of the city of Kewanee according to the best of my ability.
Andrew, welcome, my friend. Welcome. Glad to have you. You join an outstanding team. Of course, I'm a little biased, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best police department you could ever be a part of.
I agree.
So let's get a picture of all of us.
That's awesome.
All right.
Okay, do you want a new family?
Yeah, I would like to get a picture of my family.
Yeah, absolutely. Now's the time to do it.
Any others? All right, I will send those.
There goes half our audience. Okay. So we will move right along to new business, and we will open up with a presentation from the board.
Okay, so I have a monster experience, give you just kind of another rundown I did last time. Answer some of the questions you guys have asked me that we have answers for, talk about a little bit more about that, ask us a little bit schedule and stuff like that. So we'll give you a little demo, talk about it, and then just here to answer the questions.
And what's his name again? Lachlan.
Thank you, Mr. Rupp. I appreciate it. Thank you, council members and the rest of the staff for having me here today. Mr. Brunson, Mr. Bradley, and Mr. Webb have all given me some really great insight into the priorities of the city. I'm here to answer questions, but I'm also here to share a little bit further what the platform does, how we really fit in. And at the end of the day, I mean, if the city's spending money, obviously we want to see results. So I want to speak on turnaround time, what that actually looks like, and the implementation process. Based on the priorities I know, I mean, there's a huge focus for communicating our plans effectively. And we recently on the utility side had double-digit increases, and the goal is to avoid big hikes and really stay on top of this for our customers so that we can focus on smaller incremental adjustments and that really protect affordability while still allowing us to reinvest into our system, right? And we need to show our wins and communicate our plans with continuous updates on how well the city is recovering its costs, but also demonstrating to council members and the public how funds are actually being allocated. We're talking about out of sight, out of mind infrastructure here. It's so important that we provide that transparency. So Waterworth, it's built to help shift from reactive to proactive capital reinvestment while understanding the impacts onto ratepayers at the end of the day and impacts on the city's financial position. And at the end of the day, we want to minimize that impact onto ratepayers as much as possible. So whether that's doing a project today or pushing it out or seeing how unfunded mandates from the state can actually, impact the overall budget, impact ratepayers, that's what we want to look at through navigating different scenarios. How we're going to do this is utilizing our financial forecast and our asset replacement schedule. So I know that was touched on by Mrs. Brunson in the last conversation. I really want to drive home the importance of the justification behind the analysis that our team has done and what city staff has performed inside the platform. That's what we're built for, and really communicating it in a way that can be digested. So our first step in working with the city is to build a financial plan that city staff and our team can help keep up to date. And that also factors in a replacement program. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and quickly just walk through what this looks like and what this actually is. I think Mrs. Brunson might have shown it, but I will definitely open this up for questions as I walk through or at the end. So what we're looking at is essentially a financial model. It's where we take a financial plan, put it into the platform, and we keep it updated continuously. So it's very simple to get information and data onboarded into here. I've had extensive conversations with Mrs. Brunson, and all of the information needed is available in the accounting software currently being utilized by the city. So we'll start by taking a few years of historic actuals that can come from that accounting software, even looking into your financial audits. Then we'll take preliminary budgets for 26 and 25, and then onward is going to be our financial forecast. Now, where the transparency piece comes into play is how we actually break this down. Where are we at today versus where are we headed, right? And that's such an important piece to drive these conversations. So what that might look like is starting with the cash position. Maybe that's quarterly updates, or as often as council members and the public wants to see it. And I will stress, this is not the City of Kewanee's actual data, so do not worry. But in this demo model, we have the cash position in a healthy place, but 2025 onward, it is starting to deplete. And that's a problem, and we want to be able to address that and say, okay, what are the solutions we can utilize going forward? But we want to make sure everyone has an understanding of where we are actually at today, what the status quo is. And then there may be some questions as to why our cash position is actually depleting. So where we can go with that is we can pull up operating expenses. We can show how they're growing with inflation over time. Current debt service that we may have on the books, we can see where it starts to drop off, and same with proposed debt service. If we are going to borrow for future years, we want to make sure that we maintain a healthy debt service coverage ratio so that we have a better bond rating, and at the end of the day, a better bond rating means better interest rates, which means lower impact on ratepayers. Now, this is all of our fixed costs. This is how we keep the lights on. But another huge part of this, especially for utilities, is what goes into delivering the quality service. So in this case, we'll bring in your capital replacement program. And I know engineering, and the engineering firm, I think, is either developing that plan or it might already have been done. Mr. Bradley and Mrs. Brunson sent me over the engineering report, and that has the information that we actually need. But we can identify a few projects here by working with city staff and say, okay, these are the projects that are here today, and then what are the projects going out into the future. We can also separate replacement and maintenance from capital expansion. If we were seeing development and growth, we want to make sure that growth is paying for growth at the end of the day. So we can model out scenarios to really look at that. Now you'll see in 2028 onward, we have a flat line. Maybe we don't have projects identified beyond the few years out. In Waterworth, we can go into what we call the asset replacement schedule. And I think that's where a lot of questions came up. I am going to pull that up on my screen here, but that's where we can do analysis into the estimated service life of your system, the linear assets and the pipe that's underground, and understanding the material costs and what the materials are and the in-service date, and all that information has been provided in that report by Crawford Murphy Tilley, and I looked through it extensively, talked to my team, and that report has all the information that is needed, which is great. So I will pull that up because there may be some questions on the asset side, but this is really stressing how that asset replacement schedule is going to tie into the financial plan, because it's something that isn't done by a lot of communities where they might understand a lot of capital needs, but how are we actually going to get these capital needs, how are we going to execute on them? And it really comes down to funding. So tying it into the financial plan is really where Waterworth thrives, I should say. Now, looking at all of our revenue requirements, the next piece is bringing in all of our revenues. So in this case, the sale of service. We look at other operating revenue, developer contributions, non-operating revenue, grants. Waterworth will give you a big leg up in the grant writing process. Grant agencies often want to see, are you doing everything else you can? Are you increasing rates? Are you borrowing? We want to be able to demonstrate that. And if we do have to borrow, we want to make sure we have a plan in place to pay off that debt service. So we can create different scenarios, either, at the hand of council members asking, well, what if we try it this way, or city staff and department head meetings, bouncing ideas off one another. It really increases that collaborative effort. But all of this ties into, why is our cash position depleting? How well are we recovering costs? And in this case, we're starting to see some pretty big funding gaps. So what I'm going to dive into when I go into the asset replacement section, the goal is to shift from reactive to proactive, but the same has to be on the financial side. If we start to see our cash position dropping like this, we want to be proactive. We don't want to wait till our cash is already depleting to actually fix it, because that's going to mean a bigger rate increase on the public. If we can be proactive and we can be ahead of the curve and provide that justification, we can catch it early and probably get away with some incremental adjustments. But the same goes on the asset side. We want to fix things before they actually break. So, this was essentially just breaking down the financial model and the financial aspect of the platform, but I also want to get into the asset side. What information is needed was a big question that came up in the last conversation. All of the information, as I went through, and I actually have it here, this is a hydraulic model. We need a few core things to understand your linear assets. The first thing is the diameter, which you'll see here, the length of these linear assets, and the percentage, which we've got. We need the material, which you see here, and I think there's another one down below, but the material of the pipe, the length of the pipe, and the in-service date. Those are the only things that we need. I think that's a total of 4 different aspects. With all of those things conducted in this study, in this report, we have the information needed to build out what we call our asset replacement schedule. And what it looks like high level is a total picture of all of your assets in place. Now, some of you might be looking at this saying, we're looking at 100 years, we don't need to know what's coming up for replacement in 2100, but at the end of the day, it's not to tell us exactly what's going to be coming up for replacement at that point. It's to see the high-level picture of our system in entirety, right? It's to understand where the big cycles of replacement are going to come up, where we have a dip, understanding how much of our service or how much of our assets are actually past their service life. We can look at all of this, and we can get really good insight into where we need to be proactive. Right? And we can break this down as well. We can look at just the pipe in your system. We can look at equipment, hydrants, pumping, SCADA, treatment, so on and so forth. Now, if we were to do a big demonstration of this, maybe we don't want to look at 100 years as it can confuse people. So we can just break it down and look at the next 20 years. So city staff can see this and say, where do we need to be putting our focus, right? What's coming up over the next 5-10 years versus how much of our infrastructure is past its service life that is susceptible to breaking. And I think that's the most important piece. But another really important one is, well, how does it tie into the financial plan? This black dotted line here we call your annual cost of sustainable ownership. That's essentially how much should we be reinvesting into the system. And this allows you to provide the analysis to what that number should actually be, right? Because again, it needs justification, and it's obviously going to go up and it's going to go down depending on the projects that we have listed, but it gives us some insight into what we need to be budgeting or at least trying to allocate. I spat a mouthful at everybody. I hope that was okay to digest, but I want to open the floor to questions. And yeah, any questions that are there for me, I'm here to answer. So I'll open the floor.
Well, the biggest question we had was if we had the data.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have the data.
So you stated that they received the data from Crawford Mercantile, which we anticipated. I mean, the presentation in my mind is straightforward and like it's very understandable what is being offered here from this company. I would like the next step for me is to hear how the finance department and the public works department intends to use this in their plan, how you are going to overlay what's being provided here with what we need to do in the roads as well, because obviously this replacement plan is going to be heavily impacted by the position or the pavement condition index, which we're due to receive in December. So it's much less about this presentation and more about, hearing, as you get your feet increasingly underneath you, Chris, how you want to employ these tools and give us your plan on how you want to use them for us to, get behind.
Yeah, I think this is a really, Lachlan, hi, I'm Chris, you can't see me, but hi, Lachlan, great presentation. I think what I'm most curious about, and everything that you presented so far is a very high-level view of what we're looking at. Now, what type of more detailed views do you have when it comes to scheduling replacements for these things? Is there any ability to do that within Waterworks, or will we then bring in another tool for that?
Great question, Chris. I appreciate it. I really want to be clear that, and I want to stress that Waterworth, the main focus of Waterworth is the financial forecasting aspect. So we are not here trying to be an asset management program where we're doing, project strategies or project management. We are going to understand the capital needs that lay ahead. We even have a linked projects feature that can actually target street projects with water and wastewater projects because you don't want to dig up a road twice. But at the end of the day, it's mainly focused on how do we actually allocate funding to get these projects done on the utility side. That's where the financial team is going to go in, run through different scenarios. But Chris, you can come in here, and if a project comes in higher to bid, or if the bid comes in higher than the estimate, or if you have a new project in a certain area of town that's come up and crept up on you that wasn't included in the financial plan originally, you can easily run through that scenario in the platform and understand what impact that's going to have on the financial side, but at the same time navigate how to allocate funding for this project, right? So that it can actually get completed and on time. And I think that's really where it fits in. Historically, most financial plans are in a big report that are just static in nature, and it can go out of date very, very fast, where in Waterworth it's dynamic, it's visual, and it's easy to update.
So that's a good question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Lachlan, so when you talk about, the financial team is gonna go in there and update this information, I mean, is this data that they have to put in daily? You know, what does this look like? Because this model here, when you talk about is dynamic, it's not static. You know, how much work and man hours is our financial team gonna have to continually go back in to update this model and make sure that we're on the right path? Because as you know, anything, garbage in is garbage out, right? So if we're not putting the right information in and we're creating this plan and we just miss something, then this whole, I mean, this literally is null and void because of the information that we put in. So how much work are we gonna have to do to keep this up to date as we manage it through the system?
Great question, and that's where our team really comes in. We're not a software platform that says here's an hour of training, the rest is up to you. We have a full team of individuals that city staff can delegate to if timing is of the essence and if they need assistance. But at the same time, the traditional way, let's say internal staff tried to create some sort of financial forecast within Excel, the man hours it would take to create that forecast, give you that look, and then keep that updated is going to be night and day compared to Waterworth. I'll give you a quick example of that. I can run through a scenario here in a matter of minutes. Let's say we saw this cash position depleting, and at the end of the day we have an expansion project that's set for $3 million this year, and we need to fix this cash position, but rates are a sensitive topic. We don't want to put a big burden onto the ratepayers, so we're going to have to push this project out. And I will also preface that obviously some training would have to take place to do it as fast as I do, but it's very easy for individuals that are used to using Excel, which everyone on the finance team probably is. They can do this as quickly as I can. So all I have to do is clone to make a carbon copy, and I can call this deferred maintenance, where we actually push out a project. And I go in here, and I go behind the scenes to, let's say, our capital expenses. We have a $3 million mainline expansion. One thing we have to factor in is an inflationary amount on that project. Well, I can actually cut and paste that, and Waterworth automatically tells you, based on that 10% inflation you could expect on that project, it's going to go from $3 million to $4 million. Right? And understanding the impact on the project is one piece, but understanding how it impacts the financial position, that might keep our cash position in a healthy place for a couple of years, but 28, it depletes us very, very fast. So that's where now we're going to have to look at a funding strategy. In this case, I can borrow, let's say 2028, we're going to borrow, I'll put in the year of issuance, I'll put in the amortization period, put in $3.5 million, and we'll cash fund the rest, and we'll call it a 3.5% interest rate. Waterworth automatically calculates your principal and your interest debt payments for you. So once again, to separate us from Excel or something that would be kept up to date internally, typically, all the calculations are, already inputted into the platform. So there's a lot of time saving associated with that. And as we go back, our cash is depleting steadily, so that means we're going to have to now look at some rate increases. And maybe we say, instead of 4%, just as an example, I'll use 2% rate increases, but 28, we're going to have to do some bigger ones. So that means we'll have to do 10% increases onward starting in 2028 just to get our cash position back to that original target that we had in place. But just like that, I ran through what it would look like to actually defer maintenance and push out a project opposed to doing it today, right? And that's just creating one scenario. I did that in about 3 minutes. It's very easy for city staff to be able to do that as well. Where Waterworth comes in, how often are we actually updating this? Anytime a budget's completed, an audit is completed, you send us the information, we'll update it. If there's a big topic of discussion, a big project, and you want our team's assistance, we can actually create materials and produce reports or create multiple scenarios in the platform for you, and that's all included in the $8,000 annual subscription that Courtney had brought up in the last conversation. So you get full access to our team, full support. It's not just a one and done thing.
Can you remind us what the cost was? It was like something like.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, with that cash depletion, how much is going to you?
But, and then what was the full, right here?
If you wanted the additional, the rate design, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It was gonna be around 10,000 to add the rate design.
So this had nothing to do with project or repairs in the street. This is just financial. I thought last time you talked, we were talking about the text like
Is there?
issues we have in the street. Maybe I misunderstood you. I think that's the question you asked, right?
Yeah, this gives us a high level view of what assets this is going to replace. So
Okay.
it helps us with
So
decision.
that's
Absolutely.
Okay.
And to keep track of the entire financial picture, push things around quickly and just make decisions like that at a high level that drill down into it as far as scheduling and all the rest. And I see the advantage of using this tool at least for a year just to see how it goes. And then from there, either continue it or come up with something on our own that might work better for us individually.
And I know you're just digging into our system right now, but looking at the budget and everything we put into place and, what we're working on, I mean, is there anything, Courtney, that we do today that will help us in a system that will give us kind of this year to know, where we're at, what we're doing? Can we plan out 3 years based on what we're looking at? I know we just went through this exercise. That's what the water rate study was, but
So are you saying, do we have anything like this that we use currently?
something in our local system that will help us.
Not really, that would be more of us exporting any of the information they have and manipulating it in Excel ourselves to this same stuff.
Yeah, this, to me, this is, this gives us an opportunity to look at a financial plan on a multi-year basis and do it on an ad hoc basis. We can talk a little bit offline if I can leave, but I do like how it can portray the information in such a way that we can make decisions on it. Is it going to do the work for us when it comes to, the actual asset replacement? Right. The rubber hits the road there. But when it comes to having a plan, a financial plan, looking at it and having something that works, one of the we talked to a couple of different cities that have it, 3 different cities, and they like the financial plan of it, just having a plan in place. And I think the reason why we went this route, at least to Waterworth, is to make sure that we had a comprehensive look at a plan. And that's something that the council was asking for. This gives you a financial plan in addition to the other planning that has to take place on the engineering and the ground side. So we were trying to make sure we were covering all bases to make sure we gave a good picture of what was being attempted on a multi-year basis. And this was one of the better ones that we saw.
I think it's good. Now, when you talk to the 3 other cities, what were the size of the cities, the staff, are they comfortable with what we have, and
Can we replicate what they're doing with our staff, with everything we have today?
Well, one of the things that they mentioned, they were small. Most of the cities were smaller than us, right? So, but there are bigger ones out there. We just hadn't went down that road. But what we wanted to do was make sure that the customer service aspect of it is what we wanted to talk about, because we kind of looked at this as we know we're up to our eyeballs in what we got to do right now between the 2 of us. So if we had a system that worked, that other cities relied on, that they felt comfortable with, and that we could get some quote-unquote systems in place and coaching, it could be something that we start with, learn, and build out, potentially, or keep, but the aspect of having something in place that's proven, used, and it portrays the picture is what we wanted to start with, at least as the plan was being built out on a comprehensive basis, financial and actual. So that's why we started with them. And we thought it was a really good presentation, a really good look. But whether or not we wanted to start it now or later, it's up to you.
What's the commitment on this? Is it a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year?
What we presented to you guys was a 1 year.
Just a 1 year.
There's an option for like a 3-year, but we found it best to just try it out for a year, see what we want, and then move forward with
Everyone
it.
was a 3-year option, was there significant savings, or was it just?
I believe it was the same, wasn't it, Lachlan?
There was a 10% discount on a 3-year subscription. And to be 100% transparent, our pricing is set to increase by 5% on an annual basis. It's not guaranteed. We just put that in there as an inflationary factor for us. So it's not always 5%. Sometimes it's not at all. It really depends. But you have the option. Since we're on a year-to-year basis, you do have that option. The other thing with the 3-year is if you decided after a year of working together, even being in a 3-year subscription, if you decided after that first year that you no longer wanted to continue working with us, there is a risk mitigation where we can actually reimburse up to 75% of the remaining years and essentially give you all your data exported. So to get that discount, some communities do find that as impactful, but
how many communities are you working with today currently?
Great question. I actually, just in case that came up, I have a map here. So we work with over 370 utilities across North America. I'd say most of them are municipalities. Some of them are privatized water and sewer districts, but for the most part, municipalities. And in the state of Illinois, we work with over, I think we're sitting somewhere around 12 communities in the state of Illinois right now. Close to you in Davenport, we got Geneseo, Moline, and Milan.
Cool. So, Lachlan, can I ask one question? Again, we really love the concept of the visual data, of the ability to analyze, scenarios and to make long-term decisions. In the communities that you're in 300 different communities. So again, we are kind of presenting an issue where we have to do the roads, we have to do the infrastructure underneath the roads, which your software is predominantly targeting. In any of those other 300 communities, are you collaborating with any other visual data software that is performing the road side of it? Like, can you offer us any market analysis on how to tackle that issue with your software?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it depends. We have actually pivoted away from just doing water and wastewater. We work with a number of communities that are actually modeling out streets in the platform as well. If they've had an engineering study on the street side or a pavement study, as you had mentioned, sir, we can take that same information and look at those assets in the ground, the types of road, and where they're going to be coming up for replacement with some estimated service life associated. And then we can link projects. If there's a capital plan or a capital improvement plan on the street side, we can make sure that coexists and aligns with what's being done on water and wastewater, and we can actually link projects together. There's an additional cost to that. If you wanted to model out streets as well, it's going to be more so on the side of how do we line it, like you're mentioning, how do we line it up with water and sewer projects. For most communities, there's just a degree of a percentage of general fund revenue going into streets, but we can model in transfers in, transfers out, and we can look at that as well. So we have done that for a number of communities. We do have our ear to the ground. Our client success team, who handles the onboarding of clients and working with clients, are the individuals that can speak to that very clearly and can offer insight and strategy into how to align those projects efficiently and effectively.
So I love where you're going now. With the revenue side that you had there, can we tie exclusive links between individual revenue streams with projects? And what I mean, if we have, say, one tax levy that needs to be exclusively used for roads, can we make sure that that is going to the data analysis on the road side?
And then we're using like the enterprise revenue from our users of the water to support the water infrastructure upgrades.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what the Links projects feature in Waterworth would do. If you onboarded your streets data center or your streets budget center as well, we would then be able to see, okay, we have this big project in section A of our city, and at the end of the day, this portion needs to be allocated to streets and to the tax levy, like you mentioned, revenue coming from that to cover the streets portion, and then we need water revenue to cover the water portion, because I think where you're kind of going with this is we don't want subsidization happening. We don't want water paying for streets. We don't want streets paying for water, right? We want them to be completely separate, but they tie together because the project is sometimes done together. And Waterworth makes sure of that, and we can demonstrate that too, right? And actually show that. And that's the biggest thing in Waterworth, is we're providing justification and demonstration into how funds are being utilized. So the public understands, council members understand, and city staff understand.
So what we're hearing, not just planning, but accountability and transparency as well.
I'd say that's the biggest and most important thing, or the most important piece of Waterworth is offering that justification, that transparency, and in a way that can be truly understood and digested.
So what's the addition? You said that this could be added to it for an additional expense. What are we looking at to add and link these projects together?
Great question. So on streets, if you were to add streets in the additional, and it's not in the proposal, we hadn't dove too deep into that, it would be an additional $2,500. Actually, let me see, because you're bringing 3 service areas in. I could knock that down based on what Courtney and Mr. Webb had told me. I think there's a 10,000 purchasing policy in place. Because everyone's been so great and been transparent, I'll put it at that $10,000 amount. So it would be an additional $2,000.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, Chris, that's your thought. I mean, you're going to be the one, like, I mean, obviously.
I can see the benefit of jumping in and getting there. I'm sure we'll find you many points, but this is the work that they offer. We'll be beating down their door.
So
it's not working for us.
Right.
Yeah.
We want that, or we want that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If it doesn't work,
Yeah. You see the benefit of linking the streets in with it and project management and all of that, like, you fully on board with that?
yeah, I am.
Okay. So if we spend extra money, it's worth it.
I think so.
So if we have a built-in 5% increase on a yearly basis, if we would go with a 3-year, even though we got a 10% discount for that 3 years, at the end of the 3 years, that's $10,000 goes to $11,566.
Great question. So at the end of that 3 years, it's not guaranteed that it goes up that much, but it's not going to be more than 5% of your original dollar amount. So we're not going to inflate it by 15% because you missed out on 5% over 3 years. We wouldn't do that. It would just be, at most that you would see is an additional 5% on the original $10,000. $500, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
As we go through.
Right, 15% no.
I kind of think 3 years is worthwhile because you can't really do long 20 and so I think
We're going to come up with a 3-year, and we decided it didn't work for us. It could be prorated and we could back out of it. Correct?
Yeah, I think someone asked the question of if you decided after 1 year of working together that it didn't it no longer worked for you, we offer a reimbursement of up to 75% of the remaining years, depending on which time you ended it. But if you ended it within that first, or at that first year, then yes, you get up to 75%. And we've never had a lot of communities are coming on doing multi-year subscriptions, and never had one person turn away after a year or 2 years, even 3. They just come back with another 3. So we have a good hit rate so far.
So we already have the data for the under the street stuff. Do we have the street data that is ready to go as well?
No, that data won't be delivered until December of this time. We have dummy data that we could throw in there, but it's from 2017.
No, we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
So basically, when we get that plan back, we'll be good to go with that as well.
That's what the integration is.
Yeah,
I would say December at the earliest on that one. We can talk about that.
You know, a tremendous amount of time. I mean, I think we can,
Would it work if the data that we already have, like what we were planning on doing, we would do the onboarding with that until we got the
I actually recommend that. Sorry to jump in. I just wanted to say, you don't have to let perfect be the enemy of good. If you have a capital plan on the street side and have projects listed out for at least the next 2-3 years, or even if it's just a wish list of projects, that's a good baseline to start with to understand where the financial position is currently sitting and where funds might need to be allocated. And let's start that scenario planning now. Then by December, we can onboard the rest of the assets. But at the same time, it's totally up to city officials and the city staff, and we're easy. We'll work with you where you're at and what you are most comfortable with.
I mean, let's even if we put it on the agenda, I mean,
and James, you can make this work.
I definitely there's a value in.
I don't mean the program, I mean the finances. I don't mean the program, I mean the finances.
Yeah, I think we had room for, but this is gonna not just be, I'm gonna be honest, we need to look at the water side of things, the whole enterprise side, we should look at that first. So from a sewer standpoint, there is room, but it's tight on the yeah. So, I think we're investing in the future. And sometimes it's even, there's been planning aspect of it. And we need to start learning how to. A little bit of
I agree with the future plan because I don't want to pass along to we have inherited.
Thank you, yeah. Small time, yeah.
Yeah, intergenerational equity.
The accounting system should be very accountability permitted. And then that starts now. That should start now.
Absolutely.
So having it sooner rather than later.
added into it.
A contract.
Yeah.
I think give us next step to look at it. I think what we're hearing, everybody's definitely willing to look at 3 years, just because of the nature of planning cycles of major infrastructure efforts. You can't really, the utility of a long-range planning loses its utility at a 1-year constraint. So
What I would like to see is something on the agenda with maybe the 1 year, but show the option of 3 year, and we could always amend.
Okay.
yes, yeah, exactly. That's
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. I can do that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will get that over to you by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good.
I appreciate your time, Lachlan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your input was very good. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
And moving on, item B, bill number 25-95, ordinance granting a request for variance to the maximum allowed height for a privacy fence to Michael and Kathy Bossman at 624 South Chestnut Street. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And discussion.
There were a lot of notes. I got kind of lost in the transcript a little bit.
It looked like in the end, everybody was in agreement.
It sounded to me, or from what I was reading, that there was a lot of civil situations involved here that.
I only have two concerns really, is like, I don't think like just 1 foot is an issue, but if the cameras go higher, are we then gonna move the fence higher? So like, and I agree with some of the notes in there. Also, this variance just says of appropriate fence material. In the future, I would prefer to see something more specific.
Well,
like fence material.
The appropriate fence material is addressed in the ordinance.
Well, I know, but so it's a vinyl fence at the moment. What I wouldn't want to see is a different patchwork material. I don't think that this property is going to do that, but when you leave things open, you have to be okay with whatever you get. This is a particular one where it's like, it's a vinyl fence and it does have the same panel, so I think it's like very natural.
But with that in mind, each case is individual, so, each one will be addressed on its own merit.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when we call out what the variance is allowed for it, I wish we were just a little bit more specific on.
You just want more defined.
Yeah, more definition.
I agree with that.
We could always amend it and add that to the stipulations.
Just of
Same material.
Same material.
Yeah, because you don't want.
So if you want to make a motion to add that stipulation, we can do so, and then we'll vote on the stipulation, then come back and vote on the ordinance.
Okay. I move to amend it to require, consistent material of what's already there.
Do you have a second on that?
Second that.
Okay. Call the roll on the vote for the change in the amendment
To the
there.
same type of material?
Yes.
Keith, are there any issues with that?
Do we know what the plan is, or like what they didn't really say, they just said a foot, an extra foot. Like,
I thought they talked about lattice at one time.
They said a trellis idea,
Yeah.
and I'm not really sure what that is.
And they don't talk about lattice.
Lattice, yeah.
Yeah. And you get a white vinyl lattice, and put that right on top of it.
Looks, yeah.
Yeah, vinyl lattice is readily available.
I've seen like the cedar bottom.
So if we worded that same type of material, that's acceptable wording, that's not gonna throw things off.
Because what can we have? We can have, a wood fence, we can have a vinyl fence, we can have, I'm just saying, aesthetically, when you mismatch material,
Yeah.
I don't know that we want to authorize that.
And so what we're,
Aesthetically
what I meant by appropriate
Yes.
fence materials is materials that are typically used for fencing.
Yeah,
We've had issues with fences being out of doors in the past, or
right.
sheets of plywood, and that's not fencing material. That lattice, you see that as typical fencing material. If you did any kind of decorative, vinyl type, building material on top of it.
Do you have any idea what the intention is here, to just add an extension of that vinyl panel?
Is there a member of the audience that, are they here?
Lattice.
If you could just step up front here,
We discussed lattice.
Okay. It's like,
of what material?
yeah, is it gonna be a wood lattice or a
I
vinyl
don't
lattice?
know, it would be, the fence is
Yeah.
white vinyl panels.
Right.
And it would be white, I'm sure, vinyl,
Awesome.
Okay,
to add to that.
We don't need to amend it, just let it.
so withdraw your,
Yeah, withdraw. I'll withdraw my second. Okay, thank you. That was the only concern there.
okay. So we can vote on the original Bill, we ready? Go ahead, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. Congratulations. Next, we have Bill number 25-96, ordinance granting a request for variance to the maximum allowable height for an accessory structure to Brian Rollison at 911 Simpson Avenue. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. Item D, Bill number 25-97, ordinance granting a special use permit to James Stanky, doing business as Chrome Gypsy Tattoo for property located at 600 North Lexington. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Keith,
I had some notes.
Yeah.
I have a question on this one. Now, is this voting on both the track and this entertainment?
The ordinance, they moved to strike, stipulation number 3, which is minibuses.
Okay.
So that removed those stipulations, and first you folks wanted that back in, you can obviously move to amend and do all that, but, the commission voted to remove that stipulation, only about cost. So pretty much everyone that was there didn't have any issues with the boxing event. Matter of fact, some people even said that they felt it was even quieter on the boxing events inside.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot more opposition to the track itself rather than the boxing, so I just wanted to get that clarification, so thank you.
Yeah, that wasn't real clear.
Sorry for misunderstanding.
Oh, no, you're good.
So with that, any questions before Keith sits down? Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. And moving on to item E, Bill number 25-98, resolution to affirm the mayor's recommendation for appointments to various commissions and boards. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
And if I may, Gail, we're really excited to have you.
Thank you for stepping up. It is greatly appreciated. So that concludes our business end of it, and we will move on to council communications. Councilman Colomer.
Oh, I didn't know.
Councilman Cernovich.
Also, nothing. Thank you.
Councilman Baker.
Yeah, right now I know.
Oh, man.
I've nothing that.
Councilman Comnic.
Well, I just want to do my obligatory reminding people it's dark in the morning when kids go to school and when they're getting dark earlier in the evening. So make sure you're aware of your surroundings.
I have nothing either, so I do believe we have announcements. We'll move on to the announcements.
You guys.
I see everybody's trying to me, so I appreciate that.
Following
Maybe
you.
some of the social media will be happier. We're all on the same page now.
So just a reminder that the annual fall cleanup by cemetery staff in the Kewanee cemeteries is currently taking place and will end on the 31st. The cemetery division asks that no new decorations be put out until after the cleanup period has ended.
How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Wow, that was quick.
I'm sorry, that was really fast. Who was first? Okay.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. We are